Right, okay, folks. Welcome to another Nice and Nasty. And have I got a guest for you? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm delighted to introduce the SID maestro himself, Mr. Jason Page. How the hell are you, mate?
Hello there. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me. Really, it's been
No,
looking
I'm
forward to
gonna.
it.
I'll just before we can get stuck in. I'm a C64 guy. I mean, it's quite funny because people talk about, oh, my favourite Christmas was when my mum and dad got me a Commodore 64. I was an adult back in 1985. I had to buy my own Commodore 64. So, I mean, I was gifted but my mum and dad bought me. I wanted the Spectrum because there was no way they were going to get a Commodore 64 because it was like 250 quid. Wanted the Spectrum, and they told me that they were going to go to. Do you remember Comet? Do you remember the big warehouse Comet? They were going to go to Comet, but I wasn't allowed to go because it was going to be a surprise. And so I circled. This is the one I'd really like. I think, well, it was obviously 16K or 48K. I'd really like the 48K one. So then they came back and they had to wait for my birthday, and I opened it up, and they'd got me a Texas TI 1994A, and my heart sunk. And my dad's like, "Oh, but look, it's got a really nice keyboard, and I mean, to be fair, the Texas is a really beautiful looking machine." And what my mum and dad didn't appreciate was like there was zero games for it, and I mean, I had one game. I bought a game. It must have been computer and video games. It was a mail order, and it was written in BASIC, and you had to control the letter V, and you had to navigate through killer seagulls, which were W's, and I mean they were just static. It was just like burp, 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 and you used the Z and X key, and I think I played it twice, and I thought, I've just got this complete like doorstop. So eventually I got a part-time job when I was still at school. Bought myself a Commodore 64 on credit, each hire purchase. You remember that? I think it was 12 quid a week or 12 quid a month. I think I had to pay for it. But yeah, so I'm a C64 guy. I traded in, and this is a thing that younger people don't understand. Back in the sort of the 80s, you had a computer, so you had a Spectrum, you had a BBC, you had an Atari. You didn't have all of them. If you wanted to like get another computer, you had to sell the one you had, and that's how it worked. That's how it worked. So when I remember seeing a screenshot for international karate for the Atari ST, and like my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, oh my goodness, look how good does that look? So went to my local computer emporium, and I managed to get an Atari ST on like hire purchase over like 3 years, whatever. And I think I sold my Commodore 64. I had a Commodore 64. I had a disk drive. I had probably about 100 disc games. I don't know how many hundreds of tapes. I had an entire collection of zaps, and I think I sold them all for 90 quid. You know what I mean? But the 1985 or 1988 me, I didn't give a toss back then because I wanted a brand new, I wanted a state-of-the-art computer. And when people like look at the Commodore 64 now and say, "Oh, it's a classic machine," yeah, it is. But back in 1985 or whenever it was, you were just wanting the next best thing. It's a bit like you buying your an iPhone 16 and giving the original iPhone to charity. Apparently these go for a lot of money. It's the same with the original iPods and all that. It's easy with hindsight to say, oh, that's going to be worth a fortune. Whenever.
Yeah, just keep everything and never unwrap it. I mean, that's not going to happen, is it? I mean,
and that's what we've now become this society. Sorry, I'm on a bit of a roll here. We've now become this society where you go to all these like cosplay or collector memorabilia, play Blackpool places, and you've got all this, I call it shit. You've got all these pop figure. Is it what they called? I've got a few of them.
The big things.
Yeah. I mean, there must be like 10,000 of these things, and you've got all these.
There's everyone now, isn't it? It kind of doesn't really. So the novelty is just, it doesn't matter what you want, it's there. So
it's there, and people now instinctively think that all these things are going to be worth a fortune, and I'm now the same. When I buy something, I keep the box, because it'll be worth more when I sell it with the box. But then I'm trying to clear out, and so I'm chucking stuff out. But getting back to where I was, so I had the C64. Obviously, the early days of the 64, it made noises. I mean, music, to call it music was like, selling it, making it out, it was better. It was really, really basic. I think the first sort of SID tune that I didn't even know they were called SIDs. I mean, it was only in probably the last 10 years that I knew what a SID tune was. But I think the first game that I listened to that had, that's actually got music that I know, was the loading theme to Ocean, the original Daley Thompson's. And then you had, of course, you had the old US Gold, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and all that kind of stuff.
The overload stuff.
Yeah, and that was stuff that you could recognise. You go,
I was going to say there was things like High Noon was one of the first ones I remember like that.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
and I still remember it had the overload stuff, and then it had this really like 1 or 2 channel melody that repeated every 20 seconds. Yeah, and that was just it wasn't an original composition either. I can't remember what it was now. But it was just
do not forsake me, oh my darling.
Yeah, that's the one, over and over again.
That's the one. Yeah, I can sing it if you want. I better know.
But yeah, that was, and even then, there were games before that, things like Puyan or whatever, that were really, people didn't know how to use it. You would set up the registers. You'd say, I'm going to play a sawtooth waveform because I've got 4 to choose from. 4 different waveforms, and you stuck with it. You set the pitch. And that was it.
Yeah.
It was incredibly basic what people were doing.
So So as a kind of consumer, I never appreciated. I don't think anybody knew just how capable this thing was. I think the first tune that I heard that was like, people talk about "Thing in the Spring" with Rob Hubbard, which is a great tune. I don't like the game. I'm not a big particular fan of the tune. When I heard "Monty on the Run," I'm like, I don't believe this. I don't believe what I've just heard. And to me, that was like the pinnacle. That was the Bohemian Rhapsody SID music. And I'm not saying this because you're joining me tonight. A good friend of mine's Chris Willock, as you know, but a wanker. But anyway, Chris. Now, Chris has been up to. He's been up. The reason I know Chris is because he started watching my YouTube channel, and we got together and we hit it off. And he's been up here with his girlfriend a couple of times and that as well. But I got rid of my Commodore 64 in, when would it be, 1987, and so I probably didn't hear any of your stuff. I think you kind of started on the SID music after I had moved on. And so then the next 20, 30 years, I was blissfully unaware that there was anybody making music other than Rob Hubbard, the late Ben Dalglish, and Martin Galway. And that was pretty much the only 3 guys that I knew about.
Yeah.
And about maybe 3-4 years ago, Chris and a mutual friend of ours, we started, we called it the SID Show. And what we did was we each picked 5 SID tunes and we would play them in their entirety. And then we would it was a bit like Desert Island music. You would talk about it. Or no, what was it? Jukebox Jury or something, where they would play a video and go, that's a lot of shite, and talk about it. That's what we did with the SID. We would each pick our own. So that went on for, I think we got about 7 SID shows. And there was this name like Jason Page, and I'm like, don't know who that is, no idea. Because all mine were Rob Hubbard, Martin Galway, and yourself started getting played. I'm like, bloody hell. And then just fast forward to, was it last week, the week before, I started doing a sort of, I've been picking a SID musician and just playing music, stuff that I like. And last week, it was yourself. And what I had to say was, I'll be honest, I don't know any of Jason's stuff. I do know what he does is really good. So 2 weeks ago, we started. I bought myself well, you can't see it, one of the Ultimate 2 Commodore 64s. Yeah, from a guy called Gideon. Now I know it's going to be coming out because the Commodore have been bought over. I don't know if you're aware of that. Have you heard?
Yeah,
I've got
I've seen various posts about it, but don't know what that means in the long term. But
exactly. But anyway, I was using this Ultimate 2 thing. It was Chris that had said, "Oh, you need to get yourself one of these." It emulates the SID. You can have like 2 SIDs that are emulated, but you can also plug in. I should have done my homework. A 6581 and an 8520. Is it an 8520? What's the other SID?
85 something. I can never remember. 8580.
Oh, I'm glad. See, I can say if Jason Page can't bloody remember it, don't give me shit.
I've got posters.
So this thing,
I should know, that's the only one. The 8580 is the only one that I really kind of, for the last 10 years now, which seems ridiculous already, that I've been really writing for. Because whichever one you kind of write for, there's a good chance it will sound shite on the other one, So
yeah. So this thing you can have it's got the 2 chips, and what you can have them effectively both playing, and I think you get stereo. Anyway, we started going through them. I was just working from the very, very top, and I can honestly say my jaw hit the floor with what you have managed to get this SID. I thought like Monty on the Run was the pinnacle. And again, I'm not just saying this. If you watch my video back, you'll hear what I said. What I said was, up until that thing that I did 2 weeks ago, I says, if somebody says to me, who makes the best SID music, I'd say, well, it's Rob Hubbard, Martin Galway. It's hard to split them because they're both fantastic.
Yeah.
But what I've said was, these were the first generation. A new generation has arrived, and I class you as this new generation. You've taken the SID to a whole new level. And before you start sort of saying, blushing, whatever it is, I appreciate that probably there's more sources and whatever it is out there. I'm not saying it makes it easier, but what you made that SID chip do 2 weeks ago, I was like, fucking hell, I couldn't believe it. There was one, I can't remember, it begins with an E. I'll bring it up actually, and it's quite heavy metal, and I don't know how you managed to do it, but
most of mine I just named after.
Well, you had like 1, 2, the first, second, third, fourth.
Yeah. I'm notoriously crap at naming anything. Most of my files are just going to be the dates or the I can never think of anything better. So
but I think there's maybe, I don't know, there's maybe about 30 SIDs that you've done, something like that. Over the years. I mean, that's the weird thing, because basically the reason I started doing it, like you say, basically I was on CompuNet before, I was at school. So that was what, 86, something like that. CompuNet, I had that. Yeah,
that's when I started doing demos and really basic ones, but writing music as well. And then I got a job at GraphGold, which was good. And at that time, it was programming as well as doing, and eventually doing the music.
Oh, so you GraphGold? So you're working with Andrew Raybrook then, yeah?
Yeah. Steve Turner. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's when I was 16. I started there.
Wow.
And one of the first games I did was Rainbow Islands, and ever since I did the 64 version for the music, I was never happy with it, and I always wanted to go back and redo it, knowing I could do it so much better. Because my career from then, I'd ended up I was working at Sony for 20 years at PlayStation, doing all the music, various games, and basically learning the craft. When I was 16, I kind of knew about the SID chip and I could make it make sounds and do stuff, but I didn't really understand how it worked, or didn't really understand technically what else it could do or how, and didn't really have an idea about how to write music. I kind of put teams together. I could hear them in my head, but getting them out and making them sound far better than they wasn't where I was myself. And so basically, by the time I finished doing 64 stuff, I was probably about 1990. I think was the last game I did. I think it was like Super Off-Road Race or something like that. And then I moved on to all the other platforms, doing real music for PlayStation and stuff like that, not chip music. And then about it was 2015, I think, and I've been in hospital and kind of laid up at home for like a month, and I found an app on the iPhone, on the iPad, that you could write SID music, and I thought, I'll just get back into this, see what it's like.
You could write SID music. I've got an app that can play the SID tunes. I don't know if it's still
on the iPad. There was an app called SID Tracker, And it was just a tracker program on the iPad, and I was laid up, watching TV with that on, headphones, just writing. And it was all the tricks and techniques that I've been thinking about since 1990 up till 2015. All the ways that I knew I could make something sound better. If I had a time machine, I'd go back and do all this blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And this is the way that I could actually do it. I could actually say, right, now I'm going to put this all into practice. And at that point, I didn't really know much about where the scene was. I thought, it died in 1990. Like you, I threw it all away. Most of my stuff I took to a tip. I didn't even sell, all my discs and my printers and a couple of 64s, Amigas, STs, a whole lot.
Unbelievably.
Yeah. So it was all because of Rainbow Islands. I thought, no, I want to show myself that I could now write something on this chip and push it further, knowing all the things I've learned over the years about synthesis, DSP, stuff like that, effects, how to emulate that sort of thing. And it was only after I wrote probably about the first, I think it's because I ordered them in numbers, it's quite easy to say. When I got to about fifth, that's when I really realised what, there was still a proper scene and what was involved and how many people and how many really amazing musicians. I mean, I'm in the group Multi-Style Labs and they just blow me away. They're amazing. The people in that, are just like, wow.
What we kind of use when we're recording, you probably know that Chris, he's got a dual SID thing, and he's able to. I'm just a gamer and I'm a consumer. I'm completely stupid when it comes to programming and whatever. But he would convert. What we'd do is when we're recording the SID show, we used Deep SID, the website, which I think is not bad. But then Chris would then put the SID into record it in stereo, and then we would then use them for the actual recording, and then we would have a wee you could download the MP3s off them. But the number of SID musicians is just mind blowing.
It's
never realised that thing even existed.
I mean, the weird thing is, I kind of started again in 2015. I probably haven't written anything now again, probably for 3-4 years.
Oh, really? Yeah,
just because life gets in the way, you want to, you kind of just never, when you're doing that thing and just churning them out, they just kind of out, it all comes one after another. And then suddenly you stop and you have other priorities and stuff, and it's just harder to get back into it again, to feel, so suddenly the stuff that I did on my return in 2015, that now feels retro itself because it's also 10 years of gone. That time. So it's a bit crazy.
Have you got any sort of any plans to return to making SID music again?
Kind of. So here's a funny story. I turned my iPad on the other day thinking I'm going to have a look at this again. Somehow, all of my music's been deleted. So all of the
actual iPad.
Oh, so, and because I only ever did it just for a bit of fun, I never thought, I better make backups of all of this, because I just thought it's always going to be there, and it's not. So most of my stuff from all those tunes, they only exist now in SID form. All the actual patterns and stuff, and loading them into SID Tracker.
And you can't sort of reverse engineer them or anything.
No, I spoke to the author of the editor the other day about that, because I wrote a converter for both Goat Tracker and Cheese Cutter that does just that. You can put a SID into it and get the songs back. So unfortunately, though, the format isn't as open or easy to understand when trying to go back the other way from SID Tracker. To be honest, that sort of thing, I kind of kicked myself at the time, but I'm also thinking, at least the music's out there, Would it be worse if it was a bunch of half-finished songs or something?
Absolutely.
So, it's one of those things that, if it was my day job, I definitely would have backed it up, put it that way. But it's my own fault, and I'm just like, you know what? It was fun doing it. If I do it again, I'll just have to start again and create a lot of the stuff,
So is there no like software like for the Windows PC or Linux that you can load a SID tune in and then start thinking with it? I mean,
not really, no. I mean, the thing is as well, a lot of stuff when you're doing it, when I'm doing it on SID, it's about trying to cram as much stuff in as possible and trying to work out you've got a melody going and you realise by looking at the notes, oh, I can fit a sub melody in this, or I can fit a bit of echo, or you have things where, like when I did a version of Turrican, for example, and on one channel I've got like the kick and the bass and the snare, and I get all of that in one channel just by how the instruments are created. There's a instrument that's got the bass sound, but it's also got the kick at the very start of it, just play very shortly. Stuff like that, where when you hear it all, it just sounds like it's doing far more.
I mean,
and it's all of those sort of tricks that you can't kind of think ahead. You basically have to put it in there, start writing it, and then thinking, oh, I need to try and make more out of this, and working out how to massage it to push it. So, yeah, trying to look back and reverse engineer a track probably isn't going to do much use. And apart from that, it doesn't sound like fun. At the end of the day, only do it because it's fun anyway. And if the fun's gone, then I'd rather start again than worry about it. So
So when did you? Are you from like a musical family? When did you get that interest to like start learning music?
I've had no formal training. My grandfather used to have one of those 2 keyboard organs, with all the pedals and stuff like that, and the waltz and the bossa nova presets, and one of those things from the 70s, and used to just play around and doodle on that. And I was always making up tunes, or I could pick out a tune quite quickly and make up my own tunes. I didn't really think about it. I just was doing it. My dad, he would play classical guitar, but I thought really well. He'd probably say he wasn't, but no, it sounded really good to me. So, but that was about it in the family. There was no one who was really professional musician or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I got a 64, I got it for Christmas, and like it was Christmas and birthday rolled into one sort of thing. One of those sort of Debenhams pack, and a friend had already had one. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. So my older brothers, their friends would have like Spectrums and 64s and stuff. So I was seeing them and hearing them from them. And by the time I got one, I kind of knew what was out there, but it was still quite early on. That must have been about 85, I reckon. And I started programming. First computer I had was, my dad bought, was a Dragon 32. That's where I really learned how to program.
Commiserations, yeah.
I've just about got over the migraine of the green screen, to be honest. But they had some lovely games on it. I loved some of the Cuthbert stuff, and at the time it was a really fun little machine.
It's interesting. I was talking about how shit the Texas was in the last sort of 10 years, whatever, with ROMs, and I've got myself a Mister, which is fantastic. I've now been able to like get games for the Texas, and it's actually a really, really credible, capable machine.
Yeah.
40 years ago there was nothing available for it.
No. Well, I made the same mistakes as you. I went from, my brother bought a Spectrum. I thought great, so I used to play all the games. I used to love some of the games on there, Anti-Attack, and all of these sort of, all the Ultimate stuff, Jetpack and stuff like that. But then I wanted to buy something, so and I got an Auric Atmos, and that's kind of in your same realm as Texas. Nothing for it. Completely blown away with the red and black look of it, and the fact you could type in zap, ping, shoot, and explode, and it would make sounds.
That's right. Yeah, my mate had one, and that was his first computer, the Auric. Yeah, the white. He had the original Auric with it. It looked like a Spectrum white with little tiny wee keys, or like completely garbage. But I thought that was a great time to be alive, and I've always said that to people. I can feel quite blessed, because to be sort of like a teenager before computers. I mean, you can maybe just about make out I've got all these LED things.
Yeah.
All the little handhelds. That was our computer games back in the late 70s. And then when suddenly, like, the first computer came along, as RX-81, and like Space Invaders went in the arcades, we couldn't believe this was like witchcraft. Suddenly here was a TV that you could actually interact. You could move something on a screen, and it was like, wow.
yeah, Pong and stuff like that was just amazing. You know,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah. First thing I had, well, first thing I remember was Battlestar Galactica. You know, like handheld one. And it was just like the red LEDs going up the screen. I still remember.
Hang on.
That's the one. Yep, that's the cookie. I still remember the sound.
There we go. You mean this one?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I used to be able to complete it and know where to move and see the little red LEDs go up the screen. And
it's what's interesting. It's actually got a kind of analog stick. I thought it would be like self-center, but it doesn't. It just moves left and right.
No, yeah.
And I mean, to anyone that's watching this is under 30 years old, this was state of the art. The graphics were quite literally a vertical line. That was it. Your ship's a vertical line. The spaceships are vertical lines, and the bullets are vertical lines. I think the spaceship. I think the enemy spaceships are like slightly brighter. They're slightly brighter, and then the bullets. But that was
It was just red LEDs, wasn't it, coming down the screen or shooting them up? And yeah, I had that. Then I had Mini Munch Man or something as well. That's like an LCD.
I'm not getting it. It's over there. Yeah.
And I used to, the maze was drawn on top, wasn't it? And it had the whole thing where, and it's a clock and it's a egg timer. It's just like. So, but yeah, that's like you say, that's where we started. Yeah. That's where you get hooked into what games are, and that's why then having something like a Spectrum where unlimited amount of games, so it seemed, rather than this one thing that could play one game, you just had anything.
And again, back in the sort of 70s and early 80s, there was just like 30 computers you could buy. You would go into you could go into Dixon's or Lasky's or Boots or whatever, and there was just all these different computers, and you're like, I'll pick that one. Nowadays, it's just like PC or Xbox, whatever it was, and it was great. But then ultimately, after a couple of years, it was clear that the Spectrum and Commodore 64 were reigned supreme, and everything else just kind of faded into the background.
It's like you say, it used to be, you'd go in there'd be the Atari 800, the Atari 400, the Oric, Texas, all of those ones, or you'd buy like Your Computer magazine, and it'll just be full of all of these listings for the Genie and stuff like Color Genie,
the Tandy TRX, is it TRX? I think it is.
TRF-80, which is basically a Dragon 32.
Is it?
You could buy all the stuff from Tandy and play it on the Dragon, so that was okay.
I always hated being a C64 owner before I was really buying games. I would get computer and video games, and every now and again you would get a type in for the C64. But a Space Invaders game in the Spectrum was like 2 pages. The most basic guess the number game in the Commodore 64, it was like 5, and it's like, and I remember attempting them a couple of times and giving up. But this one time, my mate, he came down and he says, like, we'll type in this game, and he was reading out the code and I was typing, and it took us maybe a couple of hours to do it. And instead of doing save, we just ran it immediately, finished it, boom, run, and it just went blank. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and it never worked.
Lost the whole lot. Yeah, I remember there's quite a few things like that. I remember there was a basic one that I sent off when computer and video games used to do listings. And I sent off a game that I wrote. I must have only been about 12, something like that, maybe even younger, 10. And I got back a postcard eventually saying we are considering, in this game. But about a month after, I think, nobody had a Dragon 32, so that went nowhere. That's my first nearly game being published. But I also used to like it in those magazines. If they did listings for like Spectrums, they would like take a photo of the really bad printout on that thermal paper. So half of it would be all black, but then also you can tell they ran the game and then printed it. So where they've had user-defined graphics, instead of just having the actual character which you've got to use for that part of a leg or whatever, in the listing it had this part of a leg as a character. And you go, well, what character? What am I meant to press to get that? It's like, who the hell would ever type this stuff in? Like, amazing.
Happy days. So you eventually got the C64. So at what point did you decide I'm going to start making music for it?
You mentioned it earlier. Thinner on the String was actually one of the first games that really made me go, wow. I mean, yeah, there was, like you say,
Yeah.
the Martin Galway stuff, Rambo, Ocean Loader, and yeah, a lot of Rob Hubbard stuff. There was also then a lot of demos where you didn't know where they were from. You know, the Rob Hubbard stuff, things like all the Jerry the Germ music and stuff like that. I heard all that in various demos when Rob uploaded demos, yeah, of the music. So that's where I was hearing a lot of this stuff. I didn't even know who did it. Or, you know, and then it had a name, Rob Hubbard, and you start learning more about it. And then obviously with Zap, you get even more exposure to this stuff and understanding.
And I think like Tony Crowther and Ben Douglas, they had, is it Wii Music? It was
Wii
called.
Music, yeah. I remember Tony's stuff, you know, before Ben was involved. I think things like Shui Shide Express when he had the speech synthesis and stuff like that. But even that, yeah, all of that sort of music and the another person who I kind of looked up to. There's just so many, obviously, you know, Fred Gray, blah blah blah. But yeah, it was some of Rob's stuff and Martin's stuff.
And I think when you think, just you mentioned Suicide Express, I think they came out before. I mean, like I think Thing in the Spring was the one that suddenly people went, "Oh my goodness, what the hell is this?"
Yeah.
Prior to that, I mean, Rob had done was it Confusion, whatever it was, and it's actually a really nice tune, but it doesn't like blow your mind. And stuff like some of Ben Douglas's stuff, like Loco, I used to play it just for the music.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I later found out that it's Jean-Michel Jarre, obviously, and stuff like Suicide Express. I played it for the music. So at that point, it was gradual. We were going from like complete dog shit, blink, blonk, blink, blink, blonk, 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 to you were getting things like, I don't know, it was always like, I don't know, let's get married in the morning. It was all just like traditional tunes that were presumably out of copyright.
Yeah.
You got like the Death March.
Well, to be honest, I don't think anybody cared about copyright. Nobody even,
probably
it was
not.
just, you could do what you like, because it wasn't making enough money or on anyone's radar to really be a problem. I don't think, you know.
That's
there
right.
was so much stuff that had like Mike Oldfield music and stuff that nobody cared.
No,
but
one of the guys actually, in fact, I'm just going back a wee bit. It was on CompuNet, and for anyone that doesn't know, CompuNet was like the early internet. You had to unplug your phone, and you'd have to say to your mum, "I'll only be half an hour, right? Half an hour," and then it's going off.
Then
and
3 hours later.
And it was probably like 10 pence a minute or something. You had to. I can't even remember how it connected, but yeah, I had this modem, and it would connect, and it was just. I mean, there wasn't a lot of choices. You went in like a room, and you could like download whatever it was, tunes. And one of the things that I downloaded, and that was probably the very first SID tune that I suddenly realised, wow, this is actually real music, was the Mighty Bog, Graham Marsh.
Yeah, Graham Marsh.
Yeah.
I mentioned him as well, same thing, yeah.
Yeah, I downloaded
like Lettuce and stuff like that. Was this classic?
Kaylee and what do you call it? Depeche Mode stuff. White Wedding, Billy, what's his name? Billy Idol. So when I listened to that, that was, I mean, probably it's very, very basic what he did, but it was recognisable music, wasn't it?
You say that, you can break into it, and a lot of it is in basic.
Really?
You can list it all up, and it's just like
really.
To play it back was in basic. Yeah, I was quite impressed with that. I think at least the filters and stuff he was doing was in basic. Yeah. But it was that sort of path that I took. You know, hearing things, and there was a mixture. Then there was people like, you know, Rob and Mighty Bog, and obviously people like Martin Galway. He was a lot more elusive. You wouldn't see his stuff in a demo because it seemed so difficult to hack out in the first place. But then also he wouldn't be writing anything that wasn't for a game. You know, you wouldn't get just a tune that he happened to be writing which appeared. So you'd have to buy Ocean Games to really hear a lot of his stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah, so he was purely commercial, whereas you see Rob Hubbard was kind of doing it for fun to begin with, eh?
Yeah, it did seem that way anyway. You know, I remember when I first heard the Zuluk stuff that Rob did, you know, it was on a demo the first time I saw it, way before I knew it was even in a game, you know, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that where a lot of Rob's early stuff, it was all just, as you say, it's on a disc that I downloaded stuff off CompuNet, and it happened to be one of the tracks. You know,
I remember somebody gave me, I don't know where I got it from, but you could like upload. I don't know what the benefit was, but you could upload something onto it as well. And what I did, somebody had given me it. It was row your boat gently up the stream. But what it did was, and I apologise now for all the 1541s that I broke. It vibrated the disc drive head to play a tune, and I thought this was brilliant. I uploaded it, and it's probably buggered loads of people.
Yeah, you just destroyed so many people.
But I was blissfully unaware that it was actually going to damage anything. But yeah, happy days, wasn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah, all good, all good.
So you started. I mean, how did you get? Presumably you started making tunes just for yourself and your pals to listen to, whatever. When did you go? When did you like apply for a job with Grafco? Because you were only 16, you said, when you did.
Yeah. So that was 1988 when I started there. But basically, yeah. Before that, I was writing music for demos and just myself. So I was using things like Rock Monitor, Sound Tracker. There's another one I can't remember the name now. But yeah, that sort of all those packages that were out at the time. Your screen is frozen on mine.
I just noticed that. Yeah, it's not very.
You seem a bit in pain. I don't know.
I'm going to sneeze. Don't talk. I'm going to sneeze. Yeah, I don't know what.
You've been holding it in for about 2 minutes so far.
Right, I don't know how we do this. I didn't want to exit. I wonder if I just come out and go to stage.
Let's see if this works.
And can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Why is the camera going off?
I don't know. I reckon your camera.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hang on there. Oh, we're back again.
Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything.
Ding dang do, we're back.
Yeah, I basically was using those packages that are out there. What's the one called? The 64. I'm sure Gamma V, another package. Electro Sound. And I was writing stuff with that. And Demon was another one on the CompuNet scene that used to use Electro Sound. So I kind of another person who used to listen to a lot of his stuff. And yeah. So and then I always knew I wanted to do working games. Basically, at the time, I wanted to be a programmer as well, and that's where most of my career has been, either programming or music. So I'm just more known for the music side.
So did you write any games in at all, apart from your game on the Dragon 32? Which
when I started at GraphGold, I was as a programmer. So there's a game called Head the Ball. I did the music and the programming on there. I did the music and all the programming on the C64 version of Iron Man's Super Off-Road Racer. That was
I didn't realise that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of joined in '88 as a trainee, and rightly so, because they're not going to trust someone like me with a GraphGold who does, I could show them what I'd done and what demos and stuff like that, but it's completely different to working in a place and writing games and all that stuff. But at that point, the Amiga had just about come out. So everyone who was working on the 64 at GraphGold, Andrew Braybook and Gary Foreman, and so on, they all wanted to move on to the 16-bit stuff. So they kind of had this gap to fill on the 64 stuff, and I basically left school at just the right time. GraphGold was based in the same town as where I lived, which made, and I kind of knew Andy and Steve Turner from when we used to have computer clubs, go along.
Really?
Yeah. And so they used to go along there and turn a blind eye to everyone copying games and so on. But yeah, so.
So what minute? Let's reverse back a wee bit. So you knew Andrew Braybook at that point, but had he written like Paradroid and Uridium and all that?
Yeah, he was just. And
he was going along at a computer club.
Yeah. I think he had just about. It was after Intensity, Morpheus, all that sort of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we knew him. So yeah, went along, kind of showed them what I could do. It was either go there or go back and try and do A levels for something, Mm-hmm. But I kind of always wanted to work in games, and at school, of course, you're told, "Oh, of course you do. You're not going to do that." So
it's a passing fad, computer games.
Yeah. So yeah, luckily it worked out. And Steve Turner used to do all the music at GraphGold. He did all the original Uridium and stuff like that, Paradroid. But he was also trying to run the company and program and it getting bigger and bigger. And I started sort of showing what I could do, and kind of took over from him. So that's where I ended up, doing the music on 64. Then I did like Paradroid 90 and so on and so forth. Iridium 2 on the Amiga. So I was doing quite a lot of Amiga, and then Mega Drive. Because we were working quite closely with Bitmap Brothers, especially.
All right. So what Mega Drive tunes did you do then? Like what games?
I did quite a lot of conversions of stuff for start. So there was Chaos Engine and Gods. They were quite big ones just because they were big Richard Joseph tunes in the first place.
Yeah.
So he did the obviously the Amiga versions, and then I converted those over and added extra tunes where necessary because you couldn't do all the samples like he was doing, especially for things like Into the Wonderful on that, for God's soundtrack and stuff for the title. So kind of worked quite closely with Richard. But it's quite a few Mega Drive titles. I preferred the Mega Drive to the Amiga, to be honest. It was more like working on a 64. Having Amiga always sounded a bit too, sample based. Trying to get something to loop perfectly and not sound awful, especially if you don't have enough memory in the first place. And I was always quite limited on the amount of memory I was given for games.
Even on the Amiga, really?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
It didn't help probably that the first game we did on the Amiga was Fire and Ice, which was really short. We're talking 8-byte, 16-byte samples of loops for square waves and triangle waves and stuff like that. I think the largest sample in that game was about 256 bytes, and that was white noise that I sampled from the C64. So, and because of that, then later on saying I need decent amount of memory to do something, I was getting 30k for the whole game, whereas Chris Hillsbeck was getting 100k just for the title screen or token or something like that, So
yeah.
And I never really felt happy with the sounds. It always sounded quite of its time. It was too easy to do a lot of that sort of acid, sample stuff, and it dates very, very easily. Whereas Mega Drive, again, even though it was FM synthesis, at least it had a bit more soul. You could have lead instruments that played for a nice long time, and you could.
Yeah, the Mega Drive's has got a nice sound to it. It's very kind of bassy. It's very distinctive as well. But you listen to what's the Streets of Rage. I don't know who did that, who wrote the music for that, but that's.
I can't remember his name, but it's famous for it.
Yeah, it's
quite
beautiful.
A few games, and it really did push it. And again, all it comes down to is what we were talking about earlier about how things like Monty on the Run, Thing on a Spring. It's the same hardware. It's just how people end up using it. And I kind of learned by that point, again, by the time I got to the Mega Drive, that it wasn't just about setting up the registers and saying play a sound, because that would be boring. You want to be able to keep modifying those registers and start off playing one type of sound and then play another, and that's your instrument, And that was where the 64 works, because you, instead of just saying I'm going to play a square wave or whatever, you're playing multiple different waveforms and swapping around, and it's that manipulation where you can create really interesting sounds that go way beyond.
Excuse my ignorance, but so do you ever actually use a keyboard when you're programming a SID tune to play something, or is it all just code?
I use the keyboard on the screen on the iPad, for example.
I like to play it like you go.
I put the notes in like that. I put the notes in, but to be honest, in my head I hear it already, so I'm not playing live. I'm just literally going through, putting the notes, pressing play, seeing how it sounds, tweaking them, moving about, and I still do that today. I mean, this is where I work, day to day, doing proper game music. Now I don't sit there playing along to it. I basically put the notes in, but a lot of time I'm just dragging notes around in Ableton or Logic or whatever. I'm not really. You get lazy. You know what you want to hear, so you don't have to play it. You're just putting the notes in to emulate what you heard in your head already. So you don't. Whereas, and that was difficult. I actually worked with Rob Hubbard the other year on his Project Hubbard stuff. I don't know if you know about that. He did a sort of a load of revamped tunes of stuff that he had written only for things like FM cards or Casio keyboards and stuff like that, but had never been put.
I bought the Chris Abbott brought out. Oh, I can't even remember the name. I've got a copy of the book all about Rob Hubbard, and Chris uploaded. He made available. It's about 90 gigs worth of Rob Hubbard stuff. So there's everything there. I don't know if that's part of it. Yeah,
there's a number of new tracks there, and I was asked by Chris initially if I could help Rob convert them over to SID, because Rob hadn't done it for such a long time.
Aye, yeah.
So that was daunting, because it's just like, no, because I'm like you, it's like that was Rob Hubbard, Martin Galway, you know, and suddenly it's just like the 14-year-old me's going, it's Rob Hubbard. I'm working with Rob Hubbard. You know, what if he thinks I'm shit? So it was quite, you know, that was an experience. It really was. It was just like, wow. And yeah, he was great. But yeah, if you get a chance, check out Pygmy's Revenge. That's one of the ones that he wrote, which saw the light of day during this, and it's a brilliant track. It's kind of a cross between Nemesis the Warlock and Zoids. It's totally Rob, you know, being Rob, and it's lovely tune. The sort of thing, again, you listen to it and you think, how comes he wrote those notes in that order and I didn't? You know, it's so simple that Is there
any SID tune by like Rob Hubbard that you wish you had written? You think, oh, I'm envious
all of them, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say, yeah. I mean, Sanction, stuff like that, I reckon is one of the ones that blew me away. There's obviously different reasons, and I think, you know, this is the whole thing about there's defining moments. There's great stuff that's out there, and it continues to be out there, but it's those ones that have the impact of being the first time it makes you go, wow, I've never heard that before. You might hear something better later on, but it still might not have the same impact as what that first, you know. And that's where things like Big on a Spring did for me. Ocean Loader, I'd say Cybernoid. You know, the first time I heard Jerome tell, you know, the Maniacs of Noise.
Yeah.
And that you could tell there was defining moments in what people could get out of the SID. That Maniacs of Noise stuff with how they made the drum sound, that's completely new to what was happening before, and really seemed to be pushing it, you know, that extra level. So yeah, there was, and that's where, yeah, I think those are the sort of games that I still think when I heard that music, it felt like, wow, there's something new here.
Did you ever like listen to a SID tune and think, I want to try and figure out how he might manage to get that sound?
No. Yes and no, because I know you can. You know, there's tools that just dump out the whole registers, and then you could just go and put those registers straight back into, especially like Goat Track or whatever. You could emulate
and just rearrange them and make your own kind of music.
Yeah. Martin Galway stuff's more difficult to do than that, because he doesn't really have a data format. It's all just code. So it'd be like a little macro that you could call over and over again, which is why his stuff just sounds so out there. You know, you couldn't do parallax in any of the tools that are out there today, for example. Or, and also you haven't got the definition. A lot of the tools today, if you change the pitch by one value, that one value is actually like 128 steps in terms of how the chip itself works. So, you know, I've got stuff down to a byte when really it should be 2 bytes worth of data. But to save memory, they say, it's close enough. You just won't bother about that level of finesse. Whereas, again, lots of stuff like from Martin Galway, especially, his nice smooth filter sweeps and everything else, that's because he's using the full range and it's working in a different way. So yeah, trying to emulate that, you just wouldn't get the same result.
It's interesting. Yeah, Martin Galway's stuff is, I don't think there's any other SID musician has stuff that sounds like his. His just has a very distinct, maybe because he kind of worked, his kind of like, all his work was done over a very short period of time, so it does sound quite similar. But I don't think anyone else sounds like that at all.
No, there's a lot of stuff that he did which was just so, yeah, you're right, so different. Some of the tracks from ER Kung Fu, for example, were just lovely. And I don't know how he got some of those sounds, you know, some of these weird, and like I said, because it's in code, because it's kind of just writing these little macros that say, I don't know, must modify this filter or this pitch in this way. it's not something you could just do with an oscillator. It doesn't work in that same way. You know, it's all over the place, and it's harder to replicate in normal or modern tools for doing sound. But you're right, yeah, a lot of this stuff, it's so basic as well. You look at something like the Ocean Loader. You look at that on the waveform views, you know, on YouTube or whatever, and it's all sawtooths. There's hardly any other waveforms. You know, he doesn't use hardly ever uses white noise, and there's hardly any ever any percussion in his stuff either. And when it is, it's normally quite bad.
Yeah.
You wish he hadn't put percussion because it sounds a bit,
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah. It's whereas Rob's stuff was always quite full of, you know, lots of percussion sounds and lots of snares. And,
hi-hats and what have you. Yeah. One of my favourite Martin Galway tracks. I mean, I think Wuzzball's an exceptional piece, but the theme tune to, well, it was Chariots of Fire, obviously Vangelis, which they used for, I think they actually used it in 2 games. It originally came out for Hyper Sports, and then they reused it in, was it Daley Thompson's Super Test or something. But the first time, my dad and I, we loved watching athletics as Sebastian Coe, Steve Ovett, Steve Cram, all these kind of things. And then we went to see Chariots of Fire, and I just fell in love with the film. And then when Hyper Sports came out, I remember the first time loading it, getting the game, loading it, and suddenly this thing kicked in, and I was just like,
yeah,
Dad, come through. My dad wasn't remotely interested in computers, but even he's like, oh, that's really good. You know, and even now, I think it's exceptional.
Yeah, I think that's the one as well. It's got this really nice sort of pitch sweep at the start, and it's really smooth, and it's just like, yeah, gives you goosebumps. It does.
It does. It gives me goosebumps.
I get the same thing as well from Rambo. I think the Rambo, not the loading music, even though it's great, but it's when the game starts on the title, it has this really sort of this big filter sweep sound coming on multiple voices. You know, so it's all phasing between the different channels, all playing together at slightly different times, and it's just lovely. You know, and it's that those tracks for me are the ones we, again, just defining moments of.
Yeah,
have you never heard before?
Have you heard the music to? It was by a company called Argos, not Argos, Argus, Argus Press, Argus Press, and it was Alien.
Yeah.
It's like boom,
boom, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, the filters all over the start.
Yeah, I mean, that's wow. If you play, actually, that was the first tune I put on when I got that ultimate proper SID tunes, and it's like, wow, it's just exceptional. Like,
yeah. I remember that one too. I don't know. Again, I don't think I bought half of those games, to be honest. I just happened to have, you know, I was a school kid. I'm sure I had so many pirated games and so on, but I think because of that, I got exposed to so much more, you know, or the 199 Mastertronics. You know, I hated all those Spellbound type games, but I'd quite happily spend 199 on, or 299 or whatever it was for Spellbound, just for
the music,
just to hear it. You know, you'd see a review saying it's 98% music, wow, whatever.
And it's one of the again, the tunes that Martin Galway is kind of looked upon as one of the best was Miami Vice. The game is complete dog shit, but the music is just something else again.
I was kind of disappointed with that because I thought it was going to be, you know, Jan Hammer. I was expecting something, but it was just this really weird. And again, that's because his routine can do it. You know, it's all just like evolving stuff that were just, playing over time and changing. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did, just because I wanted to hear. Some.
You were expecting something else.
I wanted Crockett's theme, you know. I wanted. Especially after like I say the hypersports and stuff like that. It felt like, well, I just felt, especially and because Miami Vice and the soundtrack with the Jan Hammer stuff was so well known to be in all synthesis, I was kind of hoping that that's what the game was going to have. So, yeah.
So at what point did you obviously moved? What was the last sort of commercial SID piece did you do? And then did you move on to? Did you do anything on the Atari ST at all? Or?
Yeah. I mean, commercial SID. Well, there was the stuff I did when I was at Graph Gold. That was the last, I'd say, real game. That's not right, but so it would be Super Off-Road Racer. I think was probably the last 64 game. which was 1990, something like that. I've done one since for people who have been doing stuff on Kickstarters and stuff. So there have been other ones that I've released more recently that have been used in what could be considered a commercial game.
Yeah.
But if you like to draw a line under it, I'd say 1990 was where I took everything to the tip. You know, that's where I thought that's dead. Don't need that anymore. And yeah, when I was working at Graphgolf, we were working on games. So we did like Fire and Ice, or whatever, Iridium 2, Realms. There's all these games. And all of those would have been on multiple platforms. It would have been on Spectrum, 64, PC, ST, Amiga. So the music would be on all of those. So I basically wrote an editor that, especially for the 16-bit stuff, it was one editor where you could just change the instrument data to be whatever format you were working for, but the notes stayed the same. So you could do up to like 8 channels, which is what you could do on the SNES. But if you did it on the 64, on the Amiga, it would only be the first 4 channels that would actually play back. And depending if it was sample based or if it was AY chip like the ST, you just have different parameters and different voices to create. And that data would be sort of platform specific. So again, the same stuff I was doing on Amiga would be the same editor that I'd be using for Mega Drive. It'd just be the instrument data.
So how many? So the SNES had 16 channels, didn't it?
Had 8.
Did you 8? And what about the Mega Drive? How many did that have as well?
That had 6. That had 6, but also one of them could be a sample channel, or you could have a sample channel extra. I can't remember exactly which way it was, but yeah, you'd have a. But the samples again, the Mega Drive had a Z80 chip in it. So that's the first time I actually wrote any Z80 code. I didn't write any on a Spectrum, but it took until the Mega Drive to write a music player on that. But a lot of people would play the music back on the 68,000 side and then just use the Z80 only for doing samples that are really high quality samples, because that's it, they're doing nothing other than hitting the sample register to play them. Whereas my player, everything was on the Z80 to make sure that the game could use the whole of the 68,000 side. So my sample player wasn't as good, but it did mean that I was not taking up anyone's time in the game, which is probably why then my player and why I was asked to do more things like the Gods and Chaos Engine, because it wasn't going to make any difference to the speed of the game. How with that music,
it wouldn't impact the process or whatever. So what home computer did you prefer for like making music on? Would you say
64?
Good answer.
Yeah, no, I mean the melodies and stuff like that. Again, I found Amiga was a bit, like I said before, it was difficult to get instruments that felt lush. They were all short samples, and I still listen to stuff now, and it's you either that or you have enough memory to have nice long breaks in there, samples and stuff like that. But it wasn't fun. It didn't feel fun to me.
And I tend to think that, I mean, when I got rid of my 64, I said I sold it to get an Atari ST, and again, my heart sunk when I can't even remember what the first game. Oh, it was a game called TNT, and my heart sunk when the music kicked in. I'm like, this is shit. This isn't as good as my Commodore 64. Wait a minute, I want my money back. You know what I mean? And I was like, I was so disappointed. I really felt like I had, whilst the graphics, looked great. Yeah, you could have like real samples, so you could have whatever it was. I felt like I'd gone backwards. I'd got rid of my 64, and I had this thing that, to my mind, just was rubbish. And then I very quickly upgraded to an Amiga, and then things changed. But I kind of, it's weird. I stopped. I mean, I liked. Excuse me. I did enjoy, obviously, the whole like demo Amiga scene, your Jesus on Ease and all the sort of classic stuff. But as you say, it was all rave and house music, and I was never really into that. I was always into my kind of rock and whatever it was. So I never really got into the Amiga, but it was impressive at the time, listening to some trance track and balls are bouncing all over the screen.
Yeah, big acid flashing on the screen.
And I mean, it was impressive, but I've never once sort of since getting rid of the Amiga. Even with the Amiga, you would load up a game and you would just take for granted the music. You just took for granted it was like a full orchestra, whatever. And I've never ever played a SNES game or a PlayStation game and goes, oh, the music's fantastic, because you just take it for granted. And that's why people have still got this massive love. When I do my SID shows every couple of weeks, whatever it was, and we sit and listen to your music, and we're just sitting thinking, that's fucking incredible. And yeah, it's obviously not going to be the same quality as a record that's been made on tens of thousands of pounds worth of equipment, but it's the fact that, and what I always say to people is, what you're going to hear now is code that was written for a Commodore 64. The Commodore 64. It says it came out in 1979. It's ancient. It's 40 years old. And what you're listening to is something that came out on that. It's not some modern computer. And when you take that into consideration, you're just like, fucking hell, that's mind blowing. It really is, and that's why people enjoy it, and I enjoy listening to your stuff and everybody else's stuff, because it's what you're making that do. It should never have been able to do. You know, it's incredible.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's what I said about, you know, why I wanted to get back to do it, because I knew from what I'd learned all the stuff that I knew it could do, based on, you know, I've actually using synths and stuff and understanding them over 10 years, 15 years after, 20 years after actually writing stuff that initially. Even things like doing making it sound like a 909 sort of drum kit. You know, there's ways you can set the pitch and emulate clap sounds just with white noise and play nothing in between. So you have two waveforms. You have the white noise and you have nothing, and you do that 4 times in a row really quickly, and it just sounds just like a clap from a 909. You know, whereas initially on the 64, people just said, "Oh, we'll just play a bit of white noise, and that's a snare, you know, close enough." Or we'll flutter it around a bit, you know. I mean, just to give it a sounding like percussion. You weren't really trying to think about how do I create this sound. It was just more like, just make it sound weird, you know. Just mess around with the pitch of the white noise, and we'll call that a snare.
So when you're composing a SID from like scratch, how long would it take you to do it? And do you just keep playing about with it until you think, I'm going to change that a wee bit, I'll add this in, whatever, and then you think, I like that. Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, basically, when I'm writing anything, I normally try and get a hook. I get the main bit in there first, because that's the bit that's in my head, you know. And I'll just have one pattern going over and again. So I imagine that I create the drums and listen to that, whatever, or the melody, I put that in because that's what was in my head. But then you're looking at the whole patterns and realizing there's gaps in between it and what you could add. So I'm really trying to, at that point, get as much in there as possible. And then you move on to the next pattern and say, okay, where do I want the music to go next from there? And you can't, my music generally works from the middle and goes outwards. Because at that point, I can put an intro on, because I know what the whole track's going to be doing anyway. So I know what the intro might actually go into. And the same at the other end. Whereas I find anyway, if I just start at the beginning and work along, all you're really going to be doing is, I'll start with a bass, I'll add a kick, I'll add a snare, and it's all very linear and doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult. It's like, okay, when's it actually going to start? Oh, it's faded out again. So whereas if you write the clever bit first, if you write the bit that's the hook,
and then expand out.
Yeah. So basically, essentially, write the chorus first, and then see what happens around it. But at least you've got that one in the bank. You
make it sound ever so simple, Jason, honestly, and the output is just mind blowing.
I think that's the thing, though. It's having, it's hard to explain, because it just kind of, as I say, I'm normally hearing it in my head before it comes out. So trying to explain how you do it as a process, it probably, even though I'm saying it's a process, it's probably not how I actually work at all. It's just the only way I can explain it. You know, it just happens. So, you know, how I really do suffer from the whole imposter syndrome because of it. Always have done, you know, again, just doing this straight from school with no formal education. And, you know, I got 3 C's at GCSE, and that was the highest I got. Computer studies, maths, and can't remember what, physics or something. And yeah, so I'm always waiting to be found out, you know. So every time I do something, people say I like it. You're just thinking, you taking the piss, you know?
Well, I don't know what you're doing, but keep fucking doing it, mate. Trust me in that one, honestly. So, are your family? Do your family like? Do they think, oh, that's really good? Are they proud of what you do, or are they like a bit kind of nonplussed about it? Like,
No, I think they are. My dad kind of got me into computers, I guess. Yeah, he did. You know, very early on. He's the one who bought the Dragon. He's the one who was into it, you know, more than anyone at that point when I was like 9 or 10. And they're always impressed. I mean, they always tell stories about when I was in like 4 or 5 in Debenhams at Christmas, and they had sort of their Bontempi keyboards and stuff like that set up at an area, and I just went up and started playing a tune or something, and next thing it was all quiet behind me, and then everyone started clapping or something, and when I finished, I would have been mortified if I'd known that, that I can't. Yeah, the good thing about doing this is I can close the door, I can write stuff, and then people only hear it when it's finished. I don't really do that performing thing. But yeah, they'll tell stories like that and say they're proud of what I do. I don't think they know nowadays what I do. It's hard to explain a lot of the time.
So do you still write music then? You still write music for games and what have
you?
Yeah.
I still do both of that. I go between sort of programming and then go back into the music side and then do both. So now at the moment I'm audio director on a team at Unity where we just released a game, and I was doing the code for that, and I was doing the music, everything on the audio code. But previously then I've just been doing just code only and stuff like that, and support departments at PlayStation, designing and writing all the code that was used in a lot of the sort of PlayStation titles and PS4 for the SDKs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So again, you try to explain that to people and they kind of just look blankly. So it's easier to say, I write music for games. Because when you actually try to explain what you do, you can tell people just lose complete interest to go, oh, God, this is boring. So,
so do you still get as much satisfaction coding for like modern games as you did when you were writing the chip tunes and what have you?
I don't think so. I think I'd like to. I think the truth of the matter is, though, that the more you see, the more, again, it's those initial experiences for me. The more time goes on, the harder it is to be impressed. And that sounds jaded. It sounds like, oh yeah, there's some grumpy old shite. But no, there is that. But it's also just that, I've seen things before now, and it's harder to find experiences that haven't been that I haven't
done
had before.
Yeah.
So there's always something now I can look back on and go, oh yeah, we did that back in 1986 or something, 87 in that game. And all the youngsters will look at me like thinking I don't know anything, because they've only just seen it on something they've downloaded on Steam Deck or something, and it's just like there's a game, I can't remember its name now, but it's basically Attic Attack, and everyone's raving about it, and you play it and you go, bloody Attic Attack, you're playing the same game that's been out for, I've got to find it now, but it's one of the really well-known ones, let's see if I can find it quickly. No, I can't. But you'll find it and then go, oh, that one. It's that's the sort that gets me though. It's like people go, wow, it's a brilliant game, and it's selling millions of copies and stuff like that. And you go, but it's exactly the same as that game.
A game that came out 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm a wee bit like that with. You may have been aware of, it was a Kickstarter. It was called the Spectrum Vega, and what it was like a handheld Spectrum, and I think they raised something like £800,000, and I think only like 10 people got a machine. It was like the biggest sort of like rip-off Kickstarter thing ever, and people were going all over it. They were going mental for it. Oh, playing Spectrum games on a handheld. I says, I've been doing that on a PS Vita, not PS Vita. I've been doing that on my PSP for like 15 years.
Yeah.
If you really want to put the little rainbow bit in the corner to make it look like a Spectrum, then fill your boots. You know what I mean? But as you say, people. But I'm just going to quickly show you something just for a laugh. Hang on. I'm just waiting the thing switching on. But yeah, it's mental. Do you think are you going to start programming for the SID trip again? You really need to. You really
Yeah,
need.
well,
We need you back.
I kind of have been, but not. I mean, basically, there's an editor out there called GT Ultra, which is a version of Goat Tracker, which is what most people use to make SID music nowadays. I made an updated one called GT Ultra, where I took all the code from the original one and just made it a lot more accessible, I thought, and a lot easier to use. So there's been a number of people who use my editor now for making SID music. So that's quite nice to still kind of be involved in that way. Again, it was fun doing it, but then you get more and more requests as, oh, can you make a Linux version? Can you make it work on Mac? Can you? And it's like it goes from being fun hobby,
yeah, it's a bit of a chore,
into suddenly you feel like you owe people. You know, oh, I'm doing this for a demo and it's crashed, and it's like I'm not paid for it. You know, if it's not fun, then I suddenly just feel like I don't really have that interest in it.
Totally get you. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing that still, and I've still got a version of that that's got sample playback in the editor, which I just really need to finish and release. Plays 8-bit samples in that clever way that people do nowadays. So as well as the SID chip, so you can mix the two together. And yeah, I did want to start writing again, and it all went horribly wrong when my iPad decided not to like me anymore. So the thought's there, you know. It's difficult because, like I said, I kind of felt that I had an itch to scratch when I came back into it, and from first up to whatever it was, 14th or whatever. And there's a demo I did called Threshold. That was what I've released, and that was my last sort of coding stuff I did on the 64. And that was back in 2021 or something like that, I think. But it's those itches, you know, just scratching that itch of things I wanted to try, things I never got to do, things I've learnt over the years and want to try and put into practice. And you get that out of you, and then it's just like, am I still having fun? And yeah, I kind of do, but I've just, yeah.
How many? Yeah, how involved are you with like the sort of retro scene? Have you been to like Zap Live or whatever, any of these things? Do you quite enjoy them? I mean, obviously you're on this thing talking to me about it. Anything or what?
Yeah. I went to Zap Live this year. I went 2 years ago. I would look on CSDB now and again, see if anyone's left me a message or anything. Like I said, the GT Ultra stuff was quite fun, and I'm in a group, Multi-Style Labs, where I feel like an imposter because they're all great and always releasing stuff. You know, Psycho, Jammer, Linus, you name it, and yeah, L-Man and whatever. I'm missing out half the team now, sorry, but yeah, they're gonna hate me. Love you all, but yeah, they're constantly releasing stuff and constantly, you know, impressing, and I'm just going, appear now and again, all right, and then go again. So I feel like I should be doing more, but I just haven't really had the time. For the last couple of years, especially, where I've just been writing music for games, or for this game that only got released the other week on Switch 2, for example. You spend a lot of that energy going into actually writing stuff all day long for the day job.
Aye.
And yeah.
The last thing you want to do is sit and code. Yeah.
So it takes it out of you by the time it gets to the fun bit.
Yeah. Before I let you see this thing, can I ask you a favour? Would you come back on my channel, whatever, in a few weeks' time, a month's time, whatever? And what I would like to do, and you're more than welcome to decline, is get you on a live stream. And what I want you to do, and it's a bit of homework if you do agree to it, is I want you to pick your 5 favourite SIDs that you've written, and we'll listen to them. And I want you just to talk about why you think they're so good, and also pick your 5 favourite SID tunes of all time. Would you?
Oh, absolutely. That'd be one of the same. No.
Brilliant. And the next one is Jason Page.
Again, it's that really weird thing. I'm not good at liking what I do. You know, as in, I'm glad other people do, and I kind of put it out there, and I hope they do. I'm the one that looks through the comments in CSDB and sees, like, you know, 20 people saying wow, and it doesn't, and then one person goes, oh, I don't like that.
Aye.
And that's the one that, that's the one that will justify my existence.
I know what you mean. Well,
yeah.
trust me. Well, put it this way, I completely forgot to say that when I did the Jason Page live stream a couple of weeks ago, somebody mentioned, goes, "Oh, you need to get Jason Page on the Nice and Nasty," and I thought, "Oh," and I'm like, Facebook. So here we go. Right, before we crack on, I'm just conscious of time. You've probably have you heard of the Vectrex? You know what the Vectrex is?
Yeah, have you got one behind you there? Is
Yeah.
that what I can see?
Yeah. I've got that one there.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're worth knowing now. I wanted to get one, but then I saw they were like,
oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah,
But they're bringing out a Vectrex Mini. It's a smaller version, but it's not going to have the vector screen and all this kind of stuff. So for shits and giggles,
so how does it work if it hasn't got a vector screen?
It's just going to have an LCD screen, and it's like a small one.
Yeah.
So anyway, for a laugh, for my YouTube, let me just get that going. Hang on. Look. For a laugh, you'll probably think I'm off my head. Let's let this start. Come on, hurry up. There we go. I decided to build a cardboard mini Vectrex. It is quite literally made of it's made of cardboard boxes.
That's not one of those ones you find on eBay and then someone goes, "This is legit."
These speakers are just ink. That's a Sharpie, and I've even got the controller tied with a wire just to the front. It's purely, and at the back, people completely missed the joke. You know how when they're looking at things, they say, "Oh, underneath it's got 2 sockets." And on this side there is nothing on this side, and what it says is there is nothing on this side. But it completely went over the head of everybody. So yeah, I built this. It's made of cardboard. But look at this.
Did you have a bit of spare time on your hands by any chance?
I did. There you go. Look at this. How cool is this? You'll not hear.
Okay, now I'm blown away.
Vectrex.
That's very nice.
That is running on an iPad. That's running on an iPad 2, I think it is. We'll just get it started. There you go. There's my cardboard Vectrex.
That's really cool, actually.
I mean, look at it.
I am actually impressed, sir. Well done.
It keeps, I don't know, my screen keeps freezing for some reason.
Yeah, you've just frozen.
I know, right, hang on.
You've blown up the internet by showing the Vectrex.
And add back again. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it keeps there. There's the Vectrex. Look at it. And the point of this is, people are going, "Oh, how much is it going to cost?" What I wanted to say to people is, get yourself, this iPad is probably worth about 10 pence, and it does a beautiful, I mean, wait till you see this.
Yeah.
That's how emulators should be. Look at that. You're in like a sort of bedroom. That's like ancient. Say, just get yourself an iPad. You've got
yeah.
And I'll even build the cat. I'll even build the case for you for about 500.
You could be selling them, yeah. You could.
Right. Anyway, Jason, listen. Do you want to take a 5-minute break? Or are you all right? Just want to batter on?
Yeah, I'm fine. If you are.
Fantastic. Right. Listen, folks. What we're now going to do is we're going to get Jason back on another video because I could talk to him for weeks and weeks and weeks about stuff. But the point of this one is the Nice and Nasty. I have asked Jason. I've told Jason that he's going to be getting sent to Desert Island. He's allowed to pick 3 video games to take with him. It can be anything. It can be the Nintendo Wii. It can be a Binatone TV game. It can be an arcade game. It can be anything at all. These are the only 3 games that he will ever be allowed to play. And then on the flip side, I've asked Jason to pick 3 games that he wants to erase from history. So I'll let you go for the games you're going to take with you, Squire. And if you want to give me the first one and tell me why you're picking it.
Yeah, okay. This was really tricky. Because, especially as time goes on, you kind of, as I said before, it's those experiences of wow, those moments that I've really kind of tried to remember rather than just the last thing I kind of played and liked. First one I've got is Pac-Man CEDX on the PS4. So that's the one where they did it, and it was basically they took Pac-Man but changed the rules. So you'd get these big chains of ghosts that would give you loads of
Oh, I remember that one, and you're trying to
Championship
chain it.
edition.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember. Yeah. I played quite a bit of that at the time. I'm not a fan of Pac-Man, but this, I completely forgot all about that game. Yeah.
I mean, I was playing this no end back in 2011, 2012.
Hmm.
And I mean, religiously, it was ridiculous. It was so addictive, just trying to get that perfect chain, learn every place to go. And the thing that really did it, though, and this was the thing which, if they didn't have this in it, there's no way it would have been even mentioned. But I had it. If you press start twice on the controller, it would restart the game instantly. There's none of that
Really?
none of that going back into menu.
Oh, right.
None of that,
Another
none
one.
of that loading it all back in. So you'd make a mistake. A Twitch sort of game. You're going around, blah 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 blah. You press left slightly early, and a ghost slows you down, and you're not going to beat your time. It's just bang bang, start again.
Right back in again.
And that one little bit of genius made it into this thing I just couldn't stop playing, because you knew that there was no time for that whole frustration to sink in of having to wait for this thing to reload or do anything at all.
Totally with you. Yeah.
The music sounded great. The graphics, the fact that they took what is one of my favourite games as a kid, going to the arcades and seeing Pac-Man, and making it into something that I really enjoyed. I was like, for a while, I was like fourth in the world in their leaderboards or something. It's ridiculous, I got it more recently on Steam, and they just hacked the leaderboards to hell, so you can't play it looking at them anymore, because people have got ridiculous scores. And
aye.
But at the time, it was just.
Was that the PlayStation 4 or was it the Xbox 360?
It was definitely PS4.
Was it the PS4?
Yeah, I didn't have an Xbox until probably about 5 years ago, because I worked at Sony for 20 something years. I was always PlayStation only. Just because we've got all the games that way.
I suppose when you think about it, I still think the PS4 is current. The PS4 is probably 12 years old now, isn't it? Or whatever it's.
Yeah, exactly. That was I think that was it must have been about 2010, something like that, I think.
Yeah, but I remember that game. I've completely forgot all about it. I'm not a fan of Pac-Man, but it's just about linking. You're always just trying to keep eating ghosts constantly. Is that how it works?
Yeah,
again?
you've got to create this chain, and you get more points. You can do it in many ways. If you just want to complete a level, fine. You just go out, eat the dots, blah blah blah. I've done it. But it's if you know the order to go around the whole maze to get more and more ghosts following you. So then when you get to the end, you can turn around and go all the way back and eat them all. And all the time is going down, and there's just so many.
I'm going to have to go and look at
that. The leaderboards, you can watch any of the replays in the leaderboards. So you can watch someone who's at the top of the leaderboard and work out how they did it, and then try and work out if you can do it too. And that comes down to the skill. That comes down to how fast you are, and also a bit of luck. If you're in a slightly different place, if you're one frame earlier, that could affect when a ghost is going to be turning left or right somewhere else. So trying to get the exact same to replicate someone exactly is nearly impossible. But it gives you that hope, I just loved it. I just felt it was.
I'm gonna have to go and dig that out again. I completely forgot all about that. Yeah, I'll need to go and dig it out. Are you a fan of the original Pac-Man at all, or is it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to play that, especially as a kid in the arcades and stuff like that, just because the colours. Loved it. Just loved the fact. I loved the ideas of mazes and what you could do in games. Was it Wizard of War on the 64 as well?
Oh, that's a great conversion, actually. Yeah,
I had that with the 64. I think I had it on cartridge. It was
cartridge. Yeah,
with it from Debenhams.
Do you know Commodore actually released two versions of that? They brought out one which was complete dog shit, and then they obviously went back and went, no, wait a minute, let's do this properly. A bit like you wanted to do with Rainbow Islands music, and they brought out the definitive version. Even it didn't have speech, but like Double Dungeon.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome, absolutely awesome.
No, I love all of those games, So,
so why would you take Pac-Man then? So it's not about just being a good game. Would you still enjoy playing it on your desert island then?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the one that it definitely felt like when I made a mistake, it was my fault. and I think that's what I liked about those sort of games. It always felt fair in its fact that I wasn't good enough. I made a mistake. Hit start twice, off I go again. And because of that, it was like one of those games I could just play endlessly, because it wasn't like hasn't got a story mode, hasn't got blah blah blah. It's just pure arcade fun, you know.
There's another game you've just actually. It's interesting you're mentioning about just being able to go boom boom, like dead boom boom, right back in. Do you remember when the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 and that came out? There's all these games. I can't even remember what they're called. Sideways, you're on a motorbike and it's like moving left to right, and you've got all these ridiculous jumps and all that kind of stuff to make. I can't remember what they're called again.
Oh, right. Trials. Was it the Trials HD?
Really, it was like, and it's like left to right. And that was exactly the same. You would die and you just go boom and you're right back in it again. And that you just couldn't put it down.
See, I love playing those, but that's one of those games again though where I would be going, oh, but I played Kickstart 2 back in the old days. You know, that experience of being on a bike and trying to time it right, and that's where I'd be like,
Trials HD, that's what it was. Yeah. It got really hard very, very quickly, but they were. But again, the fact that you could just, I think, press B, restart, boom, this loading push, whatever it was just straight back in.
It makes such a difference. It's
fantastic.
You just know that if that wasn't there, you would get so frustrated.
Yeah. So. Excellent, right? I think we've got half an hour tops, because this thing that I use, StreamYard, I think I'm on the free package. Kick us off, is it? I used to pay, I think it was £12. I was paying a month for like the premium version, and then about 6 months ago, I got an email to say, we've tried to obviously keep prices down for such a long time. However, as you must appreciate, as a loyal customer, you need to appreciate we've had to review the kind of. We went from 12 to 45 quid. I'm like, fuck off.
Wow. Yeah.
Come on. 14 quid, maybe at a push 20. 40, it went from 12 to 45. You're like,
wow.
Bugger off. So I'm now in the free one, and I think you get 2 hours, and then it just goes.
I reckon they've lowered your bandwidth as well, because you appear to have locked up again. So
let it help. That's weird.
I reckon that's what you get for the extra 33 quid.
Probably. Dear me, I don't know. That's weird. I've been using this for years, and it's been absolutely rock solid. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this one will normally. It's a podcast and it goes out purely as an audio. But when I get an actual special guest like yourself, people like to see the video as well, right? Can you still hear me, Jason? Yeah,
I can, but you
can hear me. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I don't know
I'm all alone. There's no one here.
Don't know what's going on with the camera. I'm not even going to bother. Well, tell you what. No, I don't want to do anything else.
You know what's going to happen. It's just going to go horribly wrong.
I can still see, as long as you can still hear me anyway. Not to worry. Okay. Cool. So anyway, game number 2. What's it going to be, Squire?
Off the best games, I've got the original Doom back on PC, 1993.
Nice.
This one blew me away. I mean, at that time, we were kind of playing, again, Mega Drives and SNESes, I guess. And they were like the pinnacle of what game systems were. And the PC, as far as I was concerned, was a clunky thing for doing spreadsheets and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And any game like that where you've even got a maze and that sort of view, it was like Dungeon Master? Those sort of
Dungeon
games.
On the Amiga.
It would be you'd just be like move forward and turn left, and that was how. That's what you expected to see. And having something where it was actually literally running about, or not literally running about, because I was sitting there on a keyboard, but you were moving around so fluidly with doors opening and monsters firing fireballs and exploding barrels. And I'd never, that's a bit of a wake up call really, because I didn't even know about Wolfenstein before that, because I wasn't involved in PC games at all.
Yeah.
So seeing Doom and hearing it and playing it, it was, that took a lot of my time up. I was just fascinated by it. Just like, it felt like the future. It felt like I was playing something.
Listen, what I'm going to do, I'm just conscious that it's always a bit awkward for you. You're on the camera and I'm not. I'm actually going to come out completely and come back in again.
Okay, mate.
Let me see if I do stop. All right, let me just.
He's never coming back. It's just me and you now. Just me and the universe.
Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. Disable. No, wait a minute. Disable camera. Enable
I was
camera.
wondering if you've got to unplug your USB camera and plug it back in again.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there we go.
Hello
I
there.
kind
I'm
of
going to look for
disabled.
continuity errors now. You've got a different T-shirt on and
But yeah, my experience of Doom was we in my kind of friendship group. We all had 8-bit machines, and then one of my mates got an ST. I got an ST. One or two mates got STs. It was like jealousy. Oh, we need to get that. We all got Amigas. We all had Amigas. And then this one mate goes, "You'll never guess, I've got a PC." And I went, "What have you got a PC for?" Because at this point, the Amiga was just like fantastic.
yeah.
And he went, "You need to come up and see this game." I went, yeah. And I can remember walking up his stairs, and all I could hear was like the Baron of Doom and all the hellish noises coming from this game. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And I walked in, and he had this like massive 22-inch CRT TV, and I'm like, I can't believe what I'm just looking at here. That was a big. I call it a wow moment. A moment that you see something you like. Monty in the Run was a wow moment. Seeing Space Invaders was a wow moment. Seeing Doom running for the first ever time, it just changed everything. And I played it. I played and completed Doom. Doom 2. Oh, there was various versions. It was just you know what's interesting? Somebody has actually picked that game as a game they would remove from history, and the reason being not because they didn't like the game, but they didn't like the fact that it created the whole online multiplayer game. Because they didn't like that, which I get, but that was mind blowing.
I'm glad it was done so well. It was so well put together. And what does that mean? It means there's been 30 years of, RTS.
Call of Duty.
Yeah. And that's where I play any of those, and I might have fun. I might like playing Battlefield or something on certain versions. But that initial wow moment of seeing those worlds and moving about, you'll never get that back.
No, you'll never get that.
No. And that's why it's there. It's not the best FPS by any means. The way it's rendered means you can't look about because that's not how the technology worked to make it fast and to actually be possible on those machines. But what it did so well and really sown the seed for where games went.
Yeah, it created a brand new sort of genre of games. I know.
Yeah.
I was extremely fortunate to. I did a couple of two of the Play Blackpool events. When would it be? 2022 and 2023, I think it was, or 22 and 21. I hosted all the talks, and I was lucky to interview John Romero. And it was when I went down there, I had to write all the questions, and I went down there, and I was standing at the sort of like the stage, and all these people were coming in. I'm like, fucking hell. And then there's fucking John Romero, and he went, "Hi, how you doing?" So I'm Al. Nice to meet you. And his missus was there. I didn't know who she was. And there was like 3 chairs. There was like one for me, one for John, and then his missus sat down. And I'm thinking, what's she doing? I've not got any questions for her. I didn't, because all the questions were for John. But it was hilarious because, I said, Doom was just like, wow. It was like incredible. I says, Doom 2, wow, unbelievable. Heretic, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I goes, so tell me, John, what the fuck happened with Dakitania? And he just started laughing. I went, really? He went, you bastard. But he's such a nice guy. He's just a down to earth, just like yourself, just a normal guy. And
Yeah.
you know, what that was great. So nah, Doom. I mean, yeah, legendary game. So game number 3, Jason. What would you take?
It was difficult. There were so many that nearly made it, and I kept changing my mind. I've actually ended up with Warhawk, and that was PS3, I believe. 2007.
Warhawk.
It was my first experience of online gaming, and it was a PlayStation game. I think it was a launch title, I think, for PS3.
Warhawk.
Um,
I can't even picture that. I can't even picture what it looks like.
oh, it's lovely. Well, it's not. It probably looks rubbish today. But basically, it's just like an arena-based 16 versus 16 capture the flag type game.
Mm-hmm.
And you had you're either running around with like missile launcher, or you had a Warhawk, which are these big flying planes in the future with missiles, and you could do lock-ons, or in a tank, and it was just so much fun. It was so well made. Just the maps were just the right size. It wasn't like GTA today where they're just so big that they've lost all. You've got no idea where you are, and it's just you don't feel like you can learn them. You don't feel like you can find shortcuts or make the most out of a map. You know, these were just the right size. Probably the right size just because that's how much memory they had spare rather than anything else. But it worked. You know, it was just the perfect, as far as I was concerned, sort of online game. And as I said, it was my first experience of actual online games in that way. And yeah, I used to play it over and over again and just really get used to all the different vehicles and the weapons and the maps. And just that freedom. You haven't had that before in a game, of really feeling like I'm going to hide behind here and wait for somebody else. I'm going to, somebody goes past in a Jeep, and you could run along and jump on the back of the Jeep and come along with them. And it was just like, wow, you can kind of do things that you didn't expect you would be allowed to do. Yeah. So first of all, you try and jump on the Jeep thinking, oh, this will probably kill me, or do nothing. But when you actually then in the Jeep as well, you're just like, it's those moments of just,
it was, the first game I started playing online really would be, well, it was on Sony's rival. It was the Xbox 360, and it was Gears of War. And again, that was great. It was like, I think there was 2 teams of 4 people, and you're playing, and you can only hear the other 3 people, and it was so immersive. And that's probably the first and only game, and first and last game that I've really played online, apart from. And it's a great game even now. My daughter and I still play it. Left 4 Dead. You play one of 4 whatever, killing zombies, and it's great. We still play that even now. It's still supported on Steam, but that's great. So this Warhawk then. So you would still enjoy playing it even now. It's just like open ended. No 2 games are the same type thing. Yeah.
And again, it's just the right size. It's the fact that it's. You feel like you know where you can go. You feel like you know where you could hide, and you learn enough about your surroundings that each game a little bit more. A few more tactics of where you could try and get someone who shoot someone from somewhere from a spot that only you thought you knew. Stuff like that.
Yeah, it's one of these games. If they brought out a sequel, they'd probably spoil it. They go, oh no, they've broken it. They got it. It was like what was it? The Perfect Storm. They just got it, bang. They got it perfect. And if they change anything, it just wouldn't be as fun.
Exactly. And like I said, if that was just because that's how much memory they had, and they could make something of the right size to fit rather than out of design, who knows? But the fact is, it did work, and it was just such a joy to play.
Do you still play that? Can you still play that online,
I think you can. I think there's still servers running. I don't think they're obviously Sony servers, but I think you can play on local servers. But yeah, I've again, all of that stuff I've sold a long time ago, unfortunately. But it was just, again, and I'm sure if I did now, I wouldn't have as much fun again, just because it was that moment in time.
It was
never seen it before, never playing it before, and just having sheer fun. I think that's the thing. Again, no storylines, no intros, no all the stuff that I get so sick of in games, there was cinematics.
Straight in. Yeah.
You know, just pure fun gameplay.
Fantastic. No, three cracking choices. What were they again? You've got Doom, you've got Warhawk, and you've got
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, yeah, which I'll need to look at. So you've got 3 different types of games which are going to scratch the itches when you're on your desert island.
Yeah, there were certainly others. There was things like,
yeah.
And there was Ant Attack that was close. Clumsy Colin was close for the same reason. It was Ant Attack. Again, I love, and obviously, you know, I should be saying more 64 stuff for my upbringing, but I don't know. I just think I had so many games on the 64 that I never played any for that long. I'd be swapping around and, you know, play a bit of that, play a bit of this.
Yeah.
Rather
I call that PlayStation syndrome. It's having, and it was the same with the Commodore Amiga. We had an open air market in Edinburgh, and this guy started selling games for like £3. Instead of paying 45 quid, you're like, whoa, you go and buy 10 games, and every Sunday you would get another 10 games and another 10 games.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, you had like 5 big, massive boxes of discs, and you never played anything. And that's and I've always, I mean, you know, for years I've not done that, you know, for a long, long time. But I would always maintain that, you know, don't go and just get everything because it just spoils it. And that was the perfect case. So listen, we've got 15 minutes, so I've got 5 minutes per shite game. So you've got the good ones. Now it's your opportunity to erase 3 games from history.
The bad ones, okay.
The bad ones, yeah.
And again, this is difficult because I start looking about and you're thinking most of the good games from back then you'd consider to be shite nowadays. You know, if I look at something like Manic Miner, for example, I used to love playing it on the Spectrum. But if you imagine writing a game where it's like instant death and 3 lives and no restart points, and it's just like no, you know. But at the time it was fun. You didn't care. So trying to think through that and actually think, but was it a bad game? So these are really the most disappointing because I was kind of buying games based on the likes of, you know, Jazz Rignall, Gary Penn, reading Zap and going, oh, they say this is great. I'm going to buy that because this has got 98% or whatever, and then being completely disappointed with it. So yeah, first one was Ball Blazer. I thought this is going to be a great future sport, and all you have to do is push forward. It's just like it does everything for you. You don't. It's like I was expecting to turn around, chase this thing about, and all I was doing was pushing forward, and then it would go to it, and then the goal would come along, and there was just I couldn't understand what the fuss was about. There was no skill whatsoever, and I just felt like, what have I bought this for? How did they give it that score? What have I missed? And I kept trying to play it to think I must have missed a nuance. You know, I must have missed that. It would be like playing chess and not knowing that the other pieces can move in different directions than forward. You know, I just didn't get it.
I'm nodding because I've had this conversation with the guy. There was a guy called Lacosa. He was the guy. He was the third person that did the SID. There was myself, Panther, Chris, and myself, and Lacosa and I had this debate, well, not a debate, a conversation. Both of us despise Ball Blazer for the exact same reason as you. We read the reviews, it got 98%, it got a gold medal, it looked incredible. We loaded it, it was like, and you got the checkerboard thing, and then you start playing it, I'm like, I haven't a fucking clue what I'm supposed to be doing here. It was just, there was just like, it was completely devoid of any gameplay. And as you say, you start to think, is it me? I must be missing something. There must be something that I'm just missing in this game, and I'm not getting it. And he said the same, and you've just said exactly the same thing. So obviously, it's a very much a Marmite game, but I don't know. I didn't.
I spoke to Gary Penn about it at one of the Zap Lives a couple of years ago, and he said, "Yeah, it's probably because they played it 2-player. They all played it in the office."
Aye.
And I think that for whatever reason, maybe it's more fun in the office just pushing forward. I don't know, but yeah, for me it was just like, what a load of crap. I just didn't get it, and I feel still pissed off now because I spent money on it, and I've got no joy whatsoever.
It's interesting. A game that I put in that category, and I'm like, oh. And I played it last week. I actually played it on Sunday for a live stream, and it's a game that I should like. I hate football. I don't watch football at all. I'm Scottish, but I'm not interested in football. But my favourite Amiga game is Sensi Soccer. I love computer football games, not bloody FIFA or any of that pish.
Yeah.
But
I was the same with Kickoff. Love Kickoff, you know.
Yeah. Speedball 2, I just never got. I wanted to like it so much, and I just couldn't get into it. But I think it's possibly down to the fact that none of my mates wanted to play it. I think it's probably a 2-player game.
I think with Speedball 2, just a quick one on that one, because I know I've only got 10 minutes, but I spent so long looking at pictures in magazines and wanting it and imagining playing it. This was like over Christmas and back in whatever year it might have been, you know, that when I did get it then, I felt like I played it already. I felt like that I just playing what I'd already imagined, and it kind of took the fun out of it. And yeah, I think because the ball stuck to your hands and stuff like that, there was no skill in dribbling it around. It was just, you didn't have that. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I know. I mean, everybody, for every game that somebody likes, there's going to be people that don't like it. You and I just think well, in fact, we know that Ball Blazers shite. Everybody else is wrong. We're
totally,
right.
Totally, yeah. They're fooling themselves.
So yeah, that fantastic. You can put that one in the bin, but that Ball Blazer's already been in the bin. It's been eradicated a long time ago. So excellent. Like 10 minutes for another.
Okay, another one is Airwolf. Airwolf. Another one that Zach said was great. Another one they seemed to think it was wonderful, whatever, 90%, 88% or something. It was impossible. You couldn't do anything without dying. And it looked like it should be so cool. You know, you see the scrolling, the maps, the fact you'd be trying to traverse through this thing, shooting things, and everything there made sense to be a great game. And I'm sure if they just made the controls somewhat more lenient, it could have been there. And I can't understand who would make that game and think, let's just really fuck it up now and make sure it's impossible to play and you can't get past the first screen.
We'll put this impossible gravity on the ship. It just you're constantly fighting. It stays and then it goes and it's up and down.
And you can't get used to it. It's not like a proper gravity. It's not like something where you push up and eventually you'd learn the nuances. Like thrust, for example. Thrust you'd push up, and because it's gravity and you'd slow down, and you felt like you could control it, and it was up to you to make the mistake. This was just like something went for a timer, went down, and that was it. You know?
Well, I'm going to tell you something which is actually real interesting. What you're talking about. I had one of the guys. I had one of my mates on who watches my channel. He was on last night on the Nice and Nasty. I've not put it out yet. A guy called Mark, 20th Century Gaming. Now, Mark, he is a Commodore 64 guy. He was the only guy. I told him that you were coming on tonight. He went, "Oh, fucking hell, brilliant!" And I've not told anybody else. He will get a game that's shite, whatever. What did he play? Airwolf, and he played it. And he's so tenacious, and he's just like dogged. He played it and played it and played it, and you can watch a video of him completing it. And what he said was, you had to get over that difficulty, but once you got used to it, like I watched him playing it, maybe about a year ago, and he wanted to play it, and he started playing it.
He's a psychopath. Sorry,
he's a psychopath. Yeah, there's been a few games that he's done. He picks the most. I mean, he's played like Delta, which is just a memory game. But he just plays it and plays it and plays it, and I think he won credited Airwolf, but he played it so much to the point that he got used to how it worked. But what's interesting, Mark actually had the Twin Galaxies high score of thrust. There you go. He obviously likes a good old gravity game.
Yeah.
But he had I don't know if he still got it. He had the highest score. He looked at like 14 times or something. And you've got reverse thrust and reverse gravity is you're having to thrust down. Stuff. So he's completed Airwolf, and he's got the world high score record at thrust. So that's interesting, like what you're talking about.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I love Thrust, but yeah, I'll give him that.
I
one.
would, yeah. I think what I can always remember the guy's name, Neil Bates. That was the guy that did Airwolf.
But
So there you go.
he's got some
So,
questions to answer as young Neil.
Mr. young Master Bates, you had to get that one in.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
Hey.
we've got
They're here all night, people.
we've got 6 minutes
Yeah,
to hear
and
your
again, it
last.
just felt to me, I was just I couldn't understand how it could be getting these reviews in Zap. You know, what did I miss? I didn't.
And you know what was interesting about it? It was a game that I used to load because I liked the music. It had a decent rendition of Airwolf.
Yeah.
And it also had the graphics looked phenomenal, and it looked like it should be brilliant.
Yeah.
It was just the game. If they'd stopped having that stupid, made it more like Fort Apocalypse, got rid of the gravity, it would have been a really good game.
Yeah.
Just made it too difficult.
So the third one, this is a bit of a strange one. It's a game I actually haven't played, but for the certain reasons, it's a game that I hate with a passion. So it's called. You'll say the name and you'll go, yeah, it should be in there, of course. Rise of the Robots. So Rise of the Robots is a game that I did the music for. I was working with Richard Joseph at the time. So after I left Graph Gold, well, I left twice. I left the first time and worked with Richard for a year, where we did like 20 games together over that time, games of music, doing lots of stuff for various companies. And one of them was Rise of the Robots. And did all the music for it and never actually saw the game at all. It was just, oh yeah, there's these robots fighting, blah, blah, blah. And it was the first one that when it came out, well, it's the worst one anyway. It's the worst game we've ever worked on with regards to reviews and how much it's hated and universally panned for all of the right reasons. And it was the first one, especially after working at Graph Gold, where I was there and I was working, again, doing stuff for Bitmap Brothers and all these titles and all these really well-known AAA games. I'd never worked on a game at that point that got less than an average review.
Yeah.
Let alone a game that had got such a bad review. And I was really happy, especially the CD version I did, Philips CDI, really happy with industrial music and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just an awful experience to know that I was part of this thing where some kid had got this for Christmas or whatever, and it was such an awful, awful game, and I was in any way involved in it. It just made me realise you can't, for all the games I've worked on which have been like successes and well-known games, Gran Turismo and whatever, it's luck that you're working on those to a certain degree, or it's luck how they turn out. You're not in control of that. And so it just made me realise how.
What versions did you do the music for then?
CD version. I think there was Amiga, but I don't know if they even released the music for Amiga. I think they ran out of memory, so I only had sound effects. And Mega Drive. And I think Richard converted my Mega Drive over to SNES with the samples that I'd used for the CD version.
I think.
But it also had this Brian May intro.
Oh yeah, I do remember.
And all it was like this big guitar, the typical Brian May. All it was like one guitar noise that went on for like 30 seconds, and then I'm getting asked to do that on a Mega Drive. It's like, you poor little Mega Drive is not going to make that sound. And that's how out of step it felt like the whole game was.
I think, to be fair, I mean, people talk, it's the worst game ever. No, it's not the worst game ever. If you've ever go and play Auf Wiedersehen Pet on the Commodore 64, then come back and tell me it's the worst game ever. It's not the worst game ever. I think it was a victim of its own hype, and it was. Yeah. I mean, the Edge magazine, which is such a pretentious pile of shite, they hyped it beyond belief. The amazing game, AI and rendered. Yeah. I'm just conscious we've got a minute and a half. It was getting hyped beyond belief, and then when it did come out, there was like fuck all gameplay.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads me on to just say it must be disappointing because there's been quite a few games in the past where Rob Hubbard and Martin Galway, whatever, mainly Rob Hubbard, he would put out some cracking music and the game was complete wank. I mean, like Miami Vice, it was complete shit. The game,
kind of like Knuckle Busters, things like that.
Knuckle Busters. That's I know that's a shame. That's a shame, and it's interesting that you've actually picked that.
Yeah. I mean, it just felt like I was embarrassed to be involved in it, and it just felt. I don't like the fact. I don't like working on anything when people use the excuse about games being crap. Oh well, we ran out of budget. Oh well, the marketing wasn't right. Oh well, it's like some kids bought this, or some kids that was his only Christmas present. And that's where I feel that you can't. Yeah, you've got.
It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money back then. I know. So, anyway, listen, we've ran out of time. So, as they say, I can't remember. Was there not one TV program used to go? Oh, we're out of time. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, we've quite literally ran out of time, Jason. So, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Likewise, sir.
Sorry for having to cut you off. So, will you come back and do that other video with me?
Go on then. No, not
fantastic. Fantastic. So, listen, guys, we've literally got 10 seconds. I just want to say a huge thank you to Jason and always to you guys for listening. So, as always, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, take care. Cheers, guys.